Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. First Sky Omaha in the morning.
In the morning. Check 1 2.
Check one, check one.
Plug 1.
Plug
Is this
two.
thing on?
Paul B. the Dove, Buddi3 Da Gawd.
Hey.
Already got a shout out from the 630 crew. Putting smiles on faces this morning.
Hey. As Nip Hustle the Great says, the greatest human act is to inspire.
Hey. We're doing our best. Time to get up, move your body. But I can move some shoulders. That's about all I can move.
Hey, can we pass it?
Wait, just for this side. Hey.
Oh.
What's going on? First Sky Omaha Radio, First Sky Omaha in the morning.
In the morning.
Break dancing in the AM. It's going down. You're listening to First Sky, and guess what? It is Monday, April 3rd, 2023. What's going on, y'all? Good morning, good morning. Trying to, but Buddy over here, roboting and everything, man. If you just listen on the radio channel, you're missing all the good stuff. You're missing all the good stuff.
Come check us out.
But shout out to the radio listeners, man, getting up early with me this morning, the 630 crew, digging the sounds, the hot sounds of First Sky Omaha Radio. Appreciate you very much. People up in the chat already. What's going on, Pops? Says good Monday morning and love to my First Sky fam. I heard that. We got 201 YouTube subscribers. That's right, Pops. That's what's up, man. Finally broke that 200 mark. So,
man,
we're celebrating on that 201. Leia Keister says Monday morning. Hello. What's going on, Leia Keister?
Hey.
Wanda Lewis says good morning. Also, Mama God in the house. Good morning to my awesome sunrise peeps. I like that.
Okay. Coming with the energy this morning.
Chrissy Norris says good morning. Good morning to you. You up early this morning as well. Thanks for joining us. Okay, Kava Watson says good morning.
That's Kava, family friend. Yeah. Hey, Miss Kava, how you doing?
Remember that name? Good morning to you as well. Ariel's 402 giving us the next goal. He says 201 subscribers raised to 300. I like it.
Yeah, you gotta keep going.
That's right. If you're on YouTube, really appreciate that. Like and subscribe, all that stuff. If you're on Facebook, we don't mind you being over there too. We appreciate you. Just share the show on your page, if you will, so we can get as many people in the conversation as we can. You know how we do.
Yeah.
Good morning, family. Judy Prinzer, good morning to you as well. Appreciate you coming on through. Man, kind of feels like a Monday a little bit, don't it?
No, it definitely feels like a Monday. I think my voice even sounds me. I gotta shake the weekend off.
Sunday brunch voice right now.
Yeah, a little bit.
Mimosa voice. Okay.
Well, I'll be honest. Last night was one of those nights I fell asleep. I ain't quite go to sleep, and I'm kind of paying for it. Woke up on the floor somehow. I'm not
Dang.
Sure. Yeah.
When you say fail, you fail.
Yeah. But we up in here. Let us know how your weekend was. What did you get into? And yeah, kind of seeing a even split between Facebook and YouTube. So,
that's what's up.
Shout out to everybody.
Yep. Mark Matters would give us a good morning from the bike lane. All right, man. Up early on the bike lane. I like that, man. That's what's up. I need to get with you on that. I need to get my beach cruiser out. Come roll with you sometime.
Beach cruiser? yeah. The one I let you borrow last week.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. That's what we do in Cali. We roll around on beach cruises, or if not that, fixie BMXs. But ain't
Okay,
nobody, ain't nobody doing no half pipes today. So it's beach cruiser time.
let me
But
find out. Let me find out. That's my bike.
you know, it's ours. That bike is ours. It's kind of ours. Good morning to you. We have reached a couple of milestones here. The 201 subscribers on YouTube, of course,
Yeah.
but also, man, for some reason, I've been getting tons of feedback from people especially like ghost listeners. Been hitting me up over the weekend talking about how nobody's really doing what we're trying to do with the show. Like nobody's like breaking down processes and having like real productive discussions and stuff like that. So I'm using y'all's words. I appreciate you guys letting us know that what we're trying to do is effective because we're searching through it all the time to make sure that we are trying to be we're trying to be effective according to what we're trying to do. So
Hmm.
hopefully that's translating to other people. But really appreciate everybody coming and give me that feedback recently. I've been getting it all week, as a matter of fact. So it's always nice to hear from the people that are listening whether or not something's working. So just really want to show my appreciation there for sure.
Man, yeah, that's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing because we're constantly looking in the mirror, kind of you and I, questioning what it is that we're doing, and so yeah, it's definitely beautiful to get that feedback. Um, yeah, thank y'all.
For sure. Mama God in the chat says, you got those cameras, buddy. You might want to replay to see if you was pushed on the floor. He said he fell asleep. I was like, I've fallen and I can't. Let me just go to sleep. Okay. I was like, buddy, are you all right though? I'm falling.
No,
I
we
sit,
good, we good.
I sit down on the couch sometime and then nod off, but like I ain't never just like woke up on the floor. So I don't know. Although I will say this morning I woke up very strangely. I've been messing with that sleep pap machine, trying to get that thing to work.
How's that been going?
It's hit and miss right now. I got there's a couple things I got to figure out about it. One of the days, though, one of the days, I don't know how I got it to work right, but I hopped up in the morning like I was 20 years younger.
Okay, knock the
One,
rust off.
one day I hopped up out of bed like I had finally got some actual regenerative rest.
Man, I mean that's what you're supposed to be doing. That's what the body is supposed to. That's why it's called break fast. Because like when you're sleeping, you're fasting. You just everything shuts down and starts regenerating.
Well, I got a little glimpse of how that thing how it's supposed to be working, and literally felt like 20 years younger.
Beautiful,
Usually sweating through clothes and stuff at night, man.
man.
I'm realizing, and then I woke up, everything was cool. It was like I just took a little light nap, but slept for hours, and it was a trip because I usually wake up feeling like I've been in a fight all night long, and now I realize I actually have. I've been
Yeah,
fighting
yeah.
myself to breathe all night. Right. Seriously, man. Seriously. So, but it's hit and miss right now. I got to figure out how to get the mask to work right and so on and so forth.
So I was gonna ask, you got the whole.
Yeah. I had to get that, man. I had to get face and nose because I have
Mm.
such sinus issues and stuff like that. I had to kind of really get the whole situation. So just to breathe. But last night I I put the whole thing on and everything, and somehow I woke up this morning. It was all the way off, hanging on the chair. apparently, apparently I got up in the middle of the night and took it off, and so yeah, we'll see. So that means I got some good sleep because I don't remember taking it off, uh,
Man.
and I feel decent. I feel halfway decent this morning. So
Okay.
I'm encouraged. I'm talking about it because I'm encouraging everybody to take a sleep test. There's nothing you could have told me before about whether or not I needed a sleep test. I was like, what? I go right to sleep. I sleep. The only thing that keeps me up is if I go to bed late and have to get up early. But you know what I'm saying? But that's not what's happening. What's happening is I'm fighting myself just to breathe like all night long and didn't know it.
See, I'm still trying to get on top of myself to make just a dentist appointment, just to, just get a regular cleaning. Um, a
Yeah.
sleep appointment. Where do you find a sleep doctor? Like, how do you even?
Let's go to your primary and tell you need a sleep test and get it done because you need to know how you're sleeping, man. You think you know, but you don't know.
You have
And,
no
and
idea.
if you wake up tired at all, if you wake up tired in the next day, Um, Even if you get 2 or 3 hours real sleep,
Mm-hmm.
you'll be regenerated. You'll be rejuvenated. You'll get up and feel good. You'll get up and
Mm-hmm.
feel like you was rested. So no matter how short of your sleep is, like if you get up and you're feeling super tired and sluggish again and lethargic and all that, then you didn't sleep all the way well.
Mm.
So, like I said, you couldn't have told me, man. I had, I had, I had to be shown. They told me I had severe sleep apnea and was only getting 20% oxygen to my brain at night. So
Man.
I don't even know how I was getting up doing the show in the morning. Like I was telling pops or somebody. I was like, man, I've been doing the show on
On
sheer
cue.
will and Holy Spirit because I don't even know how I'm thinking in the morning with
Man.
that lack of sleep. So
Yeah, man. Yeah. Get your rest, man.
got to
Get your
get the
rest.
rest. Black Zam '09. Okay, top of the morning, First Sky fam. Oh, how I've missed y'all. Okay, that's what's up.
Okay.
Who is
Peace.
Black Zam '09? You guys got different Facebook, YouTube names and Facebook names. We'll see. Stacey Jean says, "Good morning, First Sky Omaha family and friends. Good morning to
Hey.
you." Christy North says the supplier should be able to help you. Yeah, I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna call the supplier, tell him I need to get a different mask or something. I got to figure it out.
Yeah.
Arrows 402 says, "I sleep like a baby in the fetal position." I can't wait to get to that. Pop says, when you have the face and nose mask, being clean shaven helps. It helps us to stay in place better. It adheres to the skin better than facial hair. Good to know. That makes some sense.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah. Oh, what's up, Black Dynamite? Okay, I see.
Yeah, yeah.
I saw you post last night. You was jamming somewhere, so I saw your phone all sideways on your gig. That's what's up, man. I appreciate you coming in this morning and keeping up the good funk in town. That's what's up. Brooke says good morning from Brooke and Zane. Oh, okay. What's going on, Zane? You up early too? Got everybody up early this morning. That's what's up.
The dude.
The dude.
Yeah, man.
Yep. Let us know how your weekend went. Like Buddy was saying, love to hear about if you did anything this weekend. I kind of chilled. I was a little bit under the weather this weekend, so I kind of just kicked back, man.
Really?
Yeah, it's probably more grieving, more stress, really. Just trying to I gotta chill out a little bit. So I tried to
Hey.
chill out a little bit, just tool around the house, do a little work, kick back, watch some Criterion Collection,
Okay.
all that type of thing. So how was your weekend, man? You said you fell out last night, so you must have had a long day yesterday, huh?
Yeah, actually, I kind of did. Kind of did. A little ripping and running. Just Sunday family day. Kind of taking a page out of your book, making things happen. Also, still, kind of halfway through Ramadan.
Yeah, yeah.
So still observing that. Kind of feeling the effects on the body of fasting throughout the day. Um, and definitely a lot of like dreaming,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of dreaming, a lot of a lot of thinking, introspection, just random thoughts. It's a real interesting journey once you really get into it. So yeah, just kind of being in touch with that. Just trying to stay strong willed. Because a lot of temptations, manyfold, a lot of good things coming across a lot of good recipes, a lot of
Stuff,
yeah,
stuff that you wouldn't even think about eating before we look again on
man,
TV.
man, like I'm gonna just go to sleep.
That's what happens, man. When I get into a situation where I can sleep, then I'm able to then I can fast because I know I'm gonna have to do a whole lot of sleeping during the fast period. So
Yeah, yeah. I have been also keeping up with the tournament though. Shout out to the young ladies at LSU for winning the championship. Eight Iowa couldn't make it through as far as the championship, but they knocked off South Carolina. Kind of who was a foregone conclusion favorite for the year.
mm,
So young girls from next door at Iowa made it happen, and then also I think tonight one of players from Omaha will be playing in the national championship game. Plays for San Diego State. Errol, I believe his name is. So yeah. Shout out to him.
hey, that's great.
Yeah, I know you're not big on the sports, man, but there's actually a lot of like it's been a couple times throughout the last couple weeks that I've been seeing Omaha players playing on ESPN on the some of the biggest stages in
Yeah.
the country. There's just a player from the Omaha area, Omaha Blue, who played in the National McDonald's All American high school game.
What's
So
up?
yeah, man, a lot of talent from Omaha, man. Shout
I
out.
was I was gonna say my feed is full of all these games and everything. I actually have learned a lot about what's going on in sports just because everybody's on it, man. Everybody's on this feed right now, especially that little controversy with the LSU lady.
Oh
Um,
yeah,
they always want a double standard happening
oh
right now.
yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah, man. 7:15 right now. If you believe in the concept of time, buddy, what are some of the things we're gonna talk about today, if you don't mind?
Man, it's a little throwback Monday, if you will. Going back to last season's theme, following the money. Some big news coming out from our partners at the Nebraska Examiner. Looks like an auditor is saying that there's been some mishandling of the monies from state agencies, saying that they may or may not have properly spent millions of dollars, and there may be a call to send some money back to the federal government. So
I wonder if it's gonna be 1024 money. They're gonna send back.
again, first the filibuster, and now this. So we'll definitely look at what's going on with that situation. Also, speaking of the filibuster, it seems like our little conversation from Friday has made headlines, or at least are influencing headlines, as Nebraska Examiner is also calling out uh, Senator McKinney's and Wayne's uh, zero tolerance for the zero sum games. I guess you can say.
Hmm.
Again, we if you missed that conversation, definitely go back and check out what the senators had to say. But again, zero sum games from other senators who are taking a very direct stance and making some impact, some negative impact possibly on what we're trying to do. So again, we're going to be talking about that. Also, looking at the Vatican, some big news coming out of the Vatican. And, I mean, you may have heard me mention the Doctrine of Discovery on the show in the past, but if you're not familiar on what that is, we're definitely going to dive into it today. The Vatican making a big announcement about the Doctrine of Discovery. So again, we'll definitely talk about that. So if there's anything on your hearts, your minds, feel free to drop that in the chat. In the meantime, in between time, let's go ahead and get this thing rolling the right way. Paul B.
Yo, yo.
Let's go.
All right. Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. You're listening to First Sky Omaha Radio, First Sky Omaha in the morning.
In the morning.
All be Buddi3 Da Gawd, chat chimers, ghost listeners, all of you radio listeners as well. Good morning, and thanks for joining us here on this Monday, April the 3rd, 2023. This is News
Man.
Monday. News Monday, and we got a couple special guests that are going to be coming in here today, too. We're going to be hearing from Chris Baby Boy Bowling from the
Hey,
Reader today.
baby
Yep,
boy.
gonna get caught up with Baby Boy. And also, we have Abbie Kretz from the Documenters program coming through today as well. So do not miss the guests. Get your questions ready. And we're going to hear about what's going on in the news, what's going on in the city, the work being done by some of the alternative news press out here, our partners over at the Documenters and the Reader, El Perico, and all those good people there. And like we told you before, we reached out and talked to some people over at the Nebraska Examiner as well. So looking at bringing them on as a partner as well, and maybe even coming in on a Monday and giving us some News Monday headlines and things like that. So a lot of people doing the good work, and we're going to try to wrangle them all together and bring them all together and, have some discussions about what's being written. And again, don't forget, comment. Go ahead and put your thoughts in the comment. Put your thoughts over at Friends of First Sky Omaha as well, because that goes both ways. They also are looking at what it is that our constituents, our neighborhoods are talking about and want to hear about. A lot of times we're talking about a subject and the people in the press are listening and they say, okay, let's go do some investigative work there. And they come up with some great articles and things like the Disinvested series over at Reader that talks a lot about the subjects that we talk about here on a regular basis. So definitely contribute because your voices are being heard. That's what this whole thing is for. And we're going to continue the discussion. If you're on Facebook or YouTube, please do us a favor and share the show so we can get as many voices in on this Monday as we can, and get fired up to really have some great discussion and continue this discussions that we have been going for 2 years now. 2 years, there's been some real evergreen stuff happening that we
Man.
keep coming back to and developing some real understanding, being able to take that much time to talk about the issues, break down the issues, keep up with the issues, and so on. So I'm definitely learning something, and I hope you all are too. And we're all learning from each other. And here's another beautiful day of that coming. So, with that said, please feel free to share what's on your hearts and minds, and let's go ahead and jump into the day, buddy. What's on the agenda?
Man, well, actually, speaking of our partners, again, it will be the news day. So again, some updates from our partners, and we'll kick off with the Nebraska Examiner has to say. Definitely looking forward to having some of their journalists on the show. But in the meantime, definitely check out their website. A lot of good work coming out. And I don't know, they don't directly quote us in this article, but I would like to say our conversation somewhat influenced this latest article from the Nebraska Examiner. Again, if you're not familiar with Fridays, again, we had Senators McKinney and Wayne on last Friday to discuss some of the tensions that have been going on the legislative floor. Again, if you're not familiar, the endless filibusters that have been going on, largely of course, in response to LB 574, which was proposed by State Senator Kathleen Koff of Omaha. Again, this bill prohibits certain gender affirming procedures for minors in the state, according to Senator Wayne. The bill had been updated or amended all the way up to including everything except for surgeries for youth who are looking for gender affirming care. But again, that has been filibustered, and there has been some backfire on that in regards to some bills that we personally on the show are looking forward to, namely LB 1024. And also McKinney and Wayne had a few other bills that they were eyeing and that could possibly be stopped by that. And there are some, again, this conversation is very, very nuanced. So there were some ideas that I kind of wanted to revisit and discuss a little more in detail, and really further the conversation. I actually think we should introduce a few other people into the conversation. One of the big things that we kind of glossed over, but I really want to talk about is intersectionality, which actually big shout out to the Nebraska Examiner. They did a really good job of breaking this conversation down in the various layers. But intersectionality is definitely one of them. Again, Paul, I don't know if we played that on Friday, but one of the things from last week that Senator Megan Hunt mentioned that again caused some tensions between the senators was that Senator McKinney basically didn't know his community. Senator Hunt says it's completely disgusting and wrong that entire community has had to sacrifice and compromise for decades to get what they deserve, and we haven't even given them that. Also saying that the community that she was advocating for, talking about the LGBTQ community and Black and brown trans people, is the same community that McKinney is advocating for, which she's correct. But again, there's nuance and things about intersectionality that I think we should discuss in detail as a platform, as a community, to really understand what's really going on, where some of these feelings and tensions are coming from. And I will start by putting it out, and this might be controversial, so I'll take it and own it. But Dave Chappelle, I'll go to where Dave Chappelle's stance is on the intersectionality of this, and where, again, as a writer, a comedy writer for Comedy Central and national TV, certain words were okay and certain words weren't. And he was able to, you've seen the Dave Chappelle show, some of the tensions and lines that he crossed, and the imagery that he was able to portray for African American people was not the same for homosexuals or people who are a part of the LGBTQIA community. So again, things as far as intersectionality, it's a very nuanced conversation, but it is one that needs to be had, especially at this point.
Yeah, most def. Shout out to the Nebraska Examiner for for covering that, for bringing that up, because that's nowhere in any other headlines that the senators were had something to say there, and especially in the tone and the way that they're bringing it out. Yeah, it's pretty difficult to battle against all the other headlines and all the other coverage that's been happening there. It's a shame I got to say battle against it, but everywhere I look, Senator Michaela Cavanaugh, Senator Hunt being praised for their stance. There's schools that have been doing walkouts last week, including North High, in protest of this bill, and it's also got really national attention. They're all over the place. Rachel Maddow, even the John, what was the Jon Stewart show? The
Late Night with Jon Stewart.
No, I can't remember the name of the show now. Trevor Noah was hosting for a while, then just stopped. They got guest hosts on now. I can't think of the name of the show, but national attention is happening here with the filibuster, with what was going on with Michaela Cavanaugh, Senator Hunt chiming in. So the fact that there's any dissenting voices at all, I mean, they're trying to act like it's a battle. It's really not. Brother Senators Justin Wayne and Terrell McKinney have both said they're not for that bill either. They didn't vote for it. They're not for it. It's disgusting, so on and so forth. They're speaking out against it as well, but they're just trying to interject that the strategy needs to be discussed so that they can try to get some other things that are also important on the board there. And that's really all that's happening. So, unfortunately, I felt like some of the responses that they got back were pretty adversarial. And it's too bad when we're talking about allies and we're talking about people that are supposed that you really need to get together and back each other on stuff as best they can. So, like you said, nuanced conversation. Appreciate the Nebraska Examiner for bringing those things out, to headlining what it is that the senators are saying about this zero-sum game. It's really, is that the best tactic? Is that the best way to be played? Would the senators be able to play it? Daily Show, thank you.
Thank you.
That's what I was trying to say. Would the senators be able to play that zero-sum game? Because first thing they'll tell you is nah, because we're the minority in there, we would not ever be able to play the no zero-sum game that way. We have to work with everybody. We're constantly having to work with everybody. So why can't that be the case everywhere else? But this is a hot, sexy topic, and we've been learning that too. We've been learning that in the legislature. There's some things that people won't come out for, some things that people will come out for. Right now, drag storytelling and this medical bill about trans people is the hottest topics right now. And even though there's a lot of other things out there that are discriminating against our youth in a lot of different ways, this is the one that is the biggest one for people on people's agenda right now. So it is, and that's just what it is. And so anyway, I see the brothers trying to make sure that they say first and foremost, we're not saying that we're with that bill at all. You gotta understand that if we're going to say anything that has any kind of critique or any kind of nuance, then you got to kind of start with that so that they don't think that you're opposing it or battling it, attacking, right? Kind of messed up. What say you in the chat? I see Arrows 402 chimed up. He said, so if you're okay with transgender, do you have to be okay with trans men using the ladies' room and trans men competing against women in women's sports? These are all questions that we kind of have to battle with ourselves and answer for ourselves on that. These kind of personal issues there. Of course, some of these personal issues do get to the legislature and have to be discussed.
Yeah.
I'm definitely for everybody getting the medical care that they need, for sure. But I have to kind of defer to people that have transgender kids to decide whether or not that's going to be something that they think is okay before they're 18 or whatever. I mean, I don't have any kids or any transgender kids, so I'm not going to answer that. That's kind of, to me, I got to leave it to them on that one.
And to that point, that's kind of why I do want to bring back up the point of intersectionality, but also with the caveat that that is a conversation that I really want to have, and I think the perfect person to have that conversation with is Dominic Morgan. Yeah. Actually, Black and Pink was mentioned on the floor. I think Senator Megan Hunt mentioned Black and Pink. If you're not familiar, Black and Pink is an organization that was founded by Dominique Morgan, and is really at the cross section of no, actually, I don't know if it was founded by Dominique Morgan, but I know Dominique Morgan had a chapter in Omaha. Um, and was definitely in leadership of the organization, but I do think it was a national organization. That I think back to conversations we've had.
Yeah.
Again, Dominique Morgan is definitely a leader in that field and the cross section of everything that we're talking about as far as rights for African American men and women, rights for those who have been incarcerated, and rights for trans people. Because again, that those are all of the things that are being cross sectioned at this point. Again, this bill for rights that we support, got to put it out, as Paul said, this bill that we support for rights or actually don't support,
Right.
but for rights for LGBT and specifically trans youth is stopping again a bill that could lead to prison reform.
Right. And my point too is that it's um the issue is the bill. That's really what the issue is. The issue is the tactic that was being
Tactic.
used to push the agenda. And the agenda is not a, when I say agenda, that's a trigger word now too. If you say agenda, then you know people thinking that you're trying to act like if there's some kind of LGBTQ agenda or something like that. That's not what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking about the fire that they had for this particular bill, which is totally understandable. And but the tactic they were using is a tactic that is shutting down all other bills, all other ideas, and that's really what we're talking about more than everything else. Don't want to kind of really get into the discussion about what you believe about LGBT
Yeah, nah,
and so on and so forth. That's kind of
nah,
really not even the point.
nope.
The point to me is this tactic that's being used for this particular bill. It could be anything. It could be filibustering something for education. Who knows? Kind of talking about the tactic more than anything else. And I think that's what it's boiling down to me. It never felt right to talk about what the subject of the bill was, as if that's the issue. The issue is the tactic being used that is shutting down all of the session and not being able to get to any other important things like prison reform, like PTSD, help for children who suffer violence, all these other things that are issues that are out there. Not to mention the money that could be coming in, and now we're hearing that some of these ARPA dollars, some of these federal funds are they're already talking about trying to take them away. Let alone other senators having other plans for that money. So big money that can come into North Omaha and really make some economic change in North and South Omaha is being threatened. And that's really what we're talking about here. So, and that's really what the senators are talking about too. They're like, they always start with if you go back and look at our discussion with them on Friday, they start with, this bill is disgusting. We don't like it. We didn't vote for it. We got nothing to do with this bill. We think it's ridiculous. But what we feel about the bill is something different than what we're talking about now. We're talking about the tactic at this point.
Yeah, actually, you
Mhm.
kind of read my mind as far as the money, and again, we'll get into what the auditor said about what's going on with the money. But to Senator Wayne's point, it's not just certain bills as far as changes and reforms that won't be seen, but there's also just outright dollars and spending, that won't happen possibly as a result of these filibusters as well.
Yeah. And again, just to kind of recap a little bit about like what happened, they had the votes before to not they yeah it's at this point I can't even remember all the steps, but at this point, um, the point to me was at this point they're holding out because of they're saying one person doesn't need to vote. They're trying to pull somebody back from that in order to make it so this bill doesn't go through. And they sticking to the tactics. The brothers came on the show several times, and we've asked the question several times, like, brothers, have you been talking to them? Like, what's the behind the scenes conversations about? Are you guys coming? Is your team coming with some strategy? Like, what's really going on? And they just were like, we haven't really talked. We haven't really been able to do that. And we're trying to figure things out, but we haven't. they're on a mission. So after 2 weeks of us asking them that and them coming on saying that, finally they were like, okay, look, we're gonna stand up here and say, listen, we're behind you, but we got to get to some other things. Can we have some discussion about some tactics here? Can we have some more strategy talks? And what we played last week was some was the way that they came back to them on that. Senator
Mhm.
Hunt and Senator Kavanaugh came back with, and Senator Jen Day came back with, sit down. We told you we was gonna do this. You know, you don't know what we're fighting. We're you don't know it, but we're fighting for the black community too. And a lot of things that were said last week that I'm sure that the senators have a lot to say back about. But at this point, what can we do? We'll have to see. Um, they did recommend, one of the things that can be done is write a letter to them, to Jen Day, to Senator Hunt, Senator Kavanaugh, saying, listen, we're with you too, but your constituents here, everybody else, there's other stuff that need to be discussed and done and talked about and bills passed as well. Here, we have other concerns.
Yeah, yeah. That's pretty much all that we can do. As far as with the senators, really, I'll evoke the words of Senator McKinney as far as those in leadership, the speakers, some of the chairs of these committees, having to get it together. Like he said, they have to figure it out as far as the leadership. Um, and I'm with Amy. I believe this is Amy Hupflis in the chat, the one with the dot, the H
Oh,
with the dot.
Amy H. Dot.
Yeah.
You,
She says,
you're going
go
to catch me
ahead.
up on this time, man. You're not going to catch me up on this one.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We figured it out. We got you. But she says, yes, I wish our senators who are on the same side had more open dialogue and had a united tactic for sure. And of course, the same energy for equally important issues. So I'm definitely there with you on that one. Um, and moving forward, I believe that Senator Wayne is quoted saying that there might be some rule changes also in regards to the filibuster that might weaken the filibuster. Also, the Nebraska Examiner has published that lawmakers need to stop being selfish, both as individuals and as a body, according to Wayne, and figure out how to help the entire state. He says, when this body is ready to have a real conversation about
Mm.
moving things forward, I'm here to talk. I'm here to figure out a game plan, but if I can't get the commitments from my community, I'm not committing to you guys. So definitely taking a stance, and hopefully they will be able to figure things out. Again, as Paul mentioned, we can write, we can call, we can pull up, to the Capitol. But as elected leaders, it ultimately does fall on their hands to figure out diplomacy and to get some things done in this state. But I am kind of with Brother Stewart Knight, Mr. and Mrs. Stewart. Definitely welcome, saying that's an excuse to move the money to where they want to use it, which I am feeling a tinge of that as far as the spending and what may happen with this money. Again, the ARPA funds, we clarified last week, the ARPA funds that we should be receiving per Senator Wayne. He says LB 1024 should still go through despite the filibuster. But again, there's another $2 billion in excess that the state has that we might not be getting a piece of, and apparently, not only might not we, not only will we be getting left out of that money, but now there's a report from the Nebraska Examiner that a state audit is questioning what the state has spent it on. So not only are they not giving it to us, but what they are spending it on is a little questionable, according to the state auditor.
Mm.
To add insult to injury, according to a state auditor, um, he is questioning whether state agencies properly spent millions of dollars of pandemic related funds, raising the possibility that Nebraska might need to repay those funds. They're big dollar items and they should not happen, says State Auditor Mike Foley on Friday. He says at least two state agencies disagreed with the audit's findings, but maintained that their spending was justified. Of course, one of those agencies being the Corrections Department, it has written a response saying that it disagrees with the auditor's interpretation of the use of funds and felt that expenses were allowable. Again, one of the big things from what we've been talking about with the filibusters is the possibility of no prison reform coming across, and now the state is on top of no prison reform, building another prison,
Right.
and now defending the spending of that prison, saying that COVID conditions resulted in significant vacancies in Nebraska Department of Corrections facilities, and mandatory overtime was necessary for the majority of staff, especially those who had direct contact with incarcerated individuals. Also, Foley says the annual report on spending of federal funds, called the Federal Single Audit, will be forwarded to the proper agencies. He also says that they will decide whether to require the state to repay the costs, reduce the federal funds that Nebraska gets in the future, or just ignore it. So there are a few avenues that might be taken. But as Paul, you mentioned earlier, could some of those funds come from LB 1024?
Bro, listen. If they got to pay back some funds, they got to pay back some COVID relief funds. You best believe it's coming out of what was going to North Omaha.
Man,
You best
so
believe that's where it's coming out first.
yeah,
So, so this is the reason why we had to talk about this particular article and keep an eye on what's going on there, because what the senators warned us could happen with these dollars. And remember, we say 1024. We're almost using 1024 like a metaphor now for funds that can come to North Omaha, because it's not just the funds that started with 1024 that's now Bill 531 and the other one. It's them also saying they changed to 531 because what they want to do is try to grab some state funds and use that in place of those 1024 funds and then pay those ARPA funds back to the state, basically, so that we can have more time to spend it. And not to mention the $2 billion that you were talking about earlier that they're trying to get a piece of, the broadband money that they're trying to get a piece of, all the dollars that are coming in. That 1024 was last year's money. So they're still talking. They're also fighting for this year's money. They're also fighting for getting North Omaha several millions of dollars every year thereafter, and they're running into opposition left and right. So when you're talking about stuff like that, you're seeing it dwindle away. They're giving us a warning all the time that first of all, other senators could take this money. They have access to. They could get access to those funds and use them for their pet projects. Number one. Number two, here we are in a situation now where the state auditor is saying that we might need to pay some money back to the federal government because there's been some misspending. And I'd like to know where the misspending was. Who did the misspending? Where did the money go? You know what I'm saying? I'd like to hear some of those cases. But nevertheless, they're saying some of it was spent wrong. So now we might owe the feds. We might have to pay them back. And where is that money coming from? Where would that money be coming from? We only got two people that are fighting for those dollars for us right now in the whole legislature. So where would everybody else vote for those dollars to go? Probably on their own pet projects, or they're probably saying take it out of these funds in order for us to pay that back. We need to pay that bill back first. We already gave North Omaha some money. That's what Brother Wayne kept saying. He kept saying every time somebody approaches him, he's like, I'm asking for more money. I'm asking for regular money to come from the state, to come from the government, to be able to go into North and South Omaha. And all he gets back is people going, didn't we already give North Omaha some money? As if that's a question anywhere else in the state. Kind of messed up.
No. Again, as far as that point, that was one of Wayne's arguments, with the tensions on the floor. He says that specifically he's talking about a canal that they're supposed to be building out in western Nebraska, which he mentioned, almost 600 million, which he mentioned. None of that is coming to Omaha, North Omaha specifically. Also $1 billion that's supposed to be invested in education. And that's part of a package that Governor Pillen has put down. But again, a large part of that, or almost all of that money, is not going to OPS because we've been talking about all these charter schools and all of this that he's pushing for. So again, that's largely going to that and rural schools, which some of them need it, but yeah, it's not really coming to North Omaha. And then on top of that, to break down some of the spending that you're asking about as far as the audit, where is the money going? Because again, as we see, it's not coming to North Omaha. But not only is it corrections, not only is it going to a new prison, but the Department of Health and Human Services, they're spending it. Apparently, $800,000 in expenses by DHHS are in question due to quote unquote inadequate accounting and poorly written contracts. Again, more questionable actions. Remember, DHHS was the same body that maintained or had the St. Francis Ministries contract.
Hey, man,
Again, questionable.
if North Omaha has to pay for that, if the St. Francis Ministry situation,
Again,
money
questionable.
if money comes out of North Omaha, the money that's supposed to be earmarked for North and South Omaha is going to get taken and paid to the government for that fiasco. That'll be just all the way ridiculous.
I don't know if it's directly that fiasco, but again, it just seems like just questionable accounting and questionable just actions from DHHS all the way around. I'm just saying they're the same people who had that contract. Again, I don't know if these $800,000 in expenses is that contract or another poorly written contracts, but it just seems par for the course for DHHS. I'm just saying that's what it looks like. Um,
Yeah.
Also, the military department, their spending has come in question. There's been some other contracts. Apparently, the firm Deloitte and Touche has been hired for some administrative programming. They were given up to 14 million. There's
Deloitte
also
and Touche. That was the name of it?
yeah, yeah.
Like some bad cologne or something like that. Deloitte.
If I'm pronouncing that correctly. Also, 3.6 million in excessive administration costs charged to the federal rent and utility assistance for the Nebraska Military Department. That's also in question. In total, about $80 million in accounting errors, in addition to all of these questionable charges as well. So a lot of money going around. Could it come out of LB $1024? And I will also like to point out 531 that we might not get to, the amendment that you mentioned, is specifically asking for the bag or the pool of money that LB 1024 will be coming out of to be moved from those federal dollars that could be going back to the state's reserve, which again is about two billion. So it's affected. The domino effect is kind of getting wide.
Yeah. 747 right now in Omaha, Nebraska. If you believe in the concept of time, I want to jump into the chat before we get to our guest that has been waiting in the wings for a couple of minutes. Just to scroll up a little bit. Judy Prinzler asked, simple question: why aren't the sessions longer to hear all the bills? That is a very, very good question. I'd have to speculate on that. It probably has to do with how the senators' jobs are laid out. I mean, you still have to have a full-time job if you're a senator. You're only getting paid $12,000 a year. So you can't spend. Session got to be so long. Probably could be longer. The chairman probably could make it longer. I don't really know.
I do think it was reported that there has been some changes. I do think each bill was moved from 4 to 6 hours allowed to hear.
So they can have more. They can have some flexibility in there.
Right.
That woman who Miss Erica Phelps says, I started a conversation in the legislative group about this, and there was so much responsibility shifting. We're talking about what was going on with the senators there as far as the filibuster. Saying it's on Republicans to stop the filibuster so the other bills can be heard. That the let's see, she continued that. She said that they said that the chair leader can choose to prioritize the hair and prison reform bill. He won't. They said that Wayne or McKinney are disappointing because they could use this time to speak at Z and education. I was told that North Omaha has never been under attack like this bill against trans youth. I pointed out that instead we have to create laws to not continue harm and attacks on our children and communities. She was told that North Omaha has never been under attack like this bill against trans youth.
By who? Who said that?
North Omaha has never been under attack like this bill against trans youth. I'm going to move on up back on the chat real quick. Mark Manner says, if we make the filibuster pointless, we can give up on getting anything done in the unicameral on the common sense side. I don't think the medical aspect of the transgender bill would hold up in court. That's interesting. He said, but it scares me to weaken the filibuster. Okay, so
Mhm.
yeah, we're kind of holding both thoughts in our brain as well. Like I said, understand why this is happening, but also what you have to look at what is holding up as well. Lucia Rodriguez on YouTube gives us a buenos dias. Good morning to you.
Hey.
Amy H. Dot says, yeah, the legislative group is something else. Rick Fulton says, well, why does the media love when Caitlin Clark makes a sign and criticizes the black girl from Memphis when she makes the same signs? We're not on that subject quite yet, but I'm glad you brought that question up. It was something that we talked about a little earlier when we talked about the sports. When we gave a little sports report. That is all over my feed. That there's some double standard there going on. We'll come back to that. Also, let's see. Stuart Knight says when they say that in their minds they mean no more welfare, Negro. Yeah. Okay. Wanda Lewis says the question is what organization in North Omaha did they give the money to? They don't represent the community as a whole. I mean, it seems obvious to me that somebody would say that seems crazy to me. Like I'm going to ask for those senators to come on. That's going to be one of my first questions. Why in the world would you say? Why in the world would you think that what's going on with our trans community in the black and brown neighborhoods and or in people that's our biggest issue. That's the biggest attack to us. That's
That's
crazy.
that's kind of why I set it up with as far as intersectionality. But again, I definitely want to continue that conversation with. I feel like that the perfect person is Dominic Morgan to have that conversation with.
Yeah, on several different levels. Not only just because she's from the trans community, but also because she's was involved with the prison community, North
Exactly.
Omaha, black in North Omaha, dealing
Exactly.
with prison. There's a lot of intersectionality going on, and we definitely. I just talked to her last week, as a matter of fact, and we didn't get into any discussions or anything, but I was happy to hear that she was in town. I don't know how long she's in town for, but I would love to have her on and talk some more about this because, yeah, that's the thing. The biggest thing is that that it seems to me the thing that's standing out to me is this attitude that sit down, Brother Terrell McKinney and Brother Justin Wayne, because we are trying to help the black community in the way that the black community needs help the most, because this is the biggest attack. Are you kidding? So I would like to get down to the bottom of some of those statements there. Right before we get into talking to Baby Boy here, as a matter of fact, I was giving him a little minute to see if his camera is going to work. You just want to come in audio only, Chris? Will that work for you? Real quick. Okay, cool. Yeah, we'll bring him on. Bring him on in just a second here. Amy H. Dot says Deloitte is a big accounting firm. The Leo
Deloitte.
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 Okay.
Yeah.
Well, okay, cool. Let's see here. Let me see. But there was something else I saw here. Here's Marianne Williams saying, "Good morning. The legislative study group comments in the past are apparently in the present is why I'm no longer there." Interesting.
Hmm.
Okay, that's very interesting. Okay. Also, Mama God says, "Guess that's why they, in quotations, want us to sit down. They don't want to be reminded of their unfair treatment of black and brown people. They want to keep their heads in the sand." Marianne Williams says, "Prison reform and criminal justice reform are important for any groups being attacked." I mean, in our community, that seems to be some of the biggest situation there. Stuart Knight, Brother Knight in the chat is saying a few things too. They always use black people for their social projects. Also, the gender issue is a tool to divide black people. Period. Okay, yeah. Here's some lessons here. Too many black people currently put their sexuality before their community. Yeah, you kind of putting out some ideas of yours that are things that you've come to. That's cool. We're trying to really though have a discussion about this on track. Where we are on track is really talking about this divide between what's going on here with the allies, this filibuster move, and so on and so forth. So let's leave it off there and go ahead and bring our guest on. We'll come back to this. We're obviously going to be talking about this for a little while because it keeps on escalating, and I can't wait to see what the senators have to say this coming Friday. after what's going on this week. If we're starting off the week already with with some of these things that we're hearing the allies say, and some of the ways that the senators are getting painted, right, quote unquote. So we'll definitely talk about it, and yeah, we'll look at getting some special guests on this week as well. We definitely need to talk to some of the senators if they have time. I have some questions for Senator Hunt, Senator Michaela Cavanaugh, Senator Jen Day for sure. We need to ask some questions, so get them
Yeah,
ready.
yeah. And it's still our love, but some
Yeah,
conversations need to be had.
I mean, that's what you don't have conversations if you don't got love.
Right, right,
We could
right.
just be like we could just be over here talking mess. So the fact that we want to bring them on is because there we because I value the some of the allyship and some of the things that's happened with them in the past for sure. Anyway, we're very late on this. In the meantime, between time 7:55 right now. If you are a person that believes in the concept of time, which I am less and less believing in, by the way. Chris, baby boy bowling from the Reader. Good morning to you, my man. How you doing?
Hey, how's it
It's
going?
going okay. How are you?
I'm pretty good. I'm just enjoying this extremely spirited debate that you guys are having so early in the morning. Really getting
Hey,
into it.
it's what we do. It's what we do.
I'm working on 20% oxygen in my
Yeah.
brain, so I don't know how I'm having a spirited conversation, but I'm but that's what it is around here. But check it out, man. What's up with your camera?
Dude, I don't know. It's not even showing up in the options. Like when you go to the settings to see if your camera's there. I don't even have a video
Hmm.
input, so I'm not sure what's
Well,
going
we're happy to
on.
have you
So
anyway. Yeah, you sounded
Yeah,
clear, loud and clear.
yeah, man. Welcome. How you been, man? How's things going?
just staying real busy. I was trying to remember the last time that I was on for Sky. I feel like it's been kind of a
Actually,
while. I don't know. Have we
I think the
talked?
last time we talked, I
Oh,
think the
word.
last time we had you on Cincinnati was preparing for the Super Bowl.
So that was last season then.
Yeah, that would have been a while ago then. Wow, yeah, that was a long time ago. Well, yeah, so no, we've been really busy at the Reader. We haven't been getting involved in as much of the legislative stuff just because I mean between like Flatwater, the Examiner, the World Herald, the radio, everyone, like they kind of do a lot of that. So, I don't know, I don't think we talked about how we got a grant to do more climate
Ooh,
change
No.
reporting. But I can talk a little bit about that. Yeah, we got a grant last year to expand our climate change reporting, and so yeah, that's kind of been our big focus so far earlier in this year, and it's going to be our big focus through like September. So yeah, we've just been doing lots of different climate change stories. So I was working on one about how climate change affects birds and how that affects us as
Hmm.
well. If we don't have any more birds, we're gonna, our environment is gonna really suffer, and we're gonna suffer, and our
let's
food and
see.
all
That's
that
where my
sort of
mind.
stuff.
That's where
And
my mind went. I was like, y'all. When you said bird, I thought yard bird. I was like, they messing with my chickens, man. What's
Not the
going on?
yard boy, not the
no,
bird.
no, there's a there's a rooster outside my house though that actually I think they got rid of the rooster. I don't know what happened to
Well,
it, but
time to get a
Ah,
rooster.
just one singular
turkey game,
rooster.
turkey game.
Yeah, but anyway, yeah, we got stories coming up in the April issue about wind energy and lots of different things about that. And yeah, we just got a lot of really interesting stuff planned. I sat down with Preston Love and talked a little bit about the stuff going on with the Northo
I was
coal
about to ask
plant.
you that. Yeah.
So yeah, there's just yeah, we're looking at things about energy efficiency in homes, which is eh, homes that are not energy efficient are they're a really big contributor to greenhouse gases and climate change. And when you make your home more energy efficient, you save a lot of money on your energy bills.
Hmm.
So there's a lot of money available to start to make low income homes more energy
Hmm.
efficient because that's usually the homes that are not energy efficient. It's older, more low income.
Kind of sounds like North and South
Yeah,
Side, don't it? Kind of sounds
there's
like East Side Omaha a little bit.
it is. Yeah, there's a yeah, there's state. I think that there's state money. I think Senator Wayne is trying to get some money put into this NDEE
Wow.
fund to try to, but then there's also some federal. The federal stuff is the big deal, but yeah, we gotta It's this thing called the Inflation Reduction Act. I don't know if you guys have talked
No.
about that a lot on the show, but
Hmm.
it's uh, it's going to be over like the next like 10 years, and states are really just passed it not too long ago, and states are kind of trying to figure out how they're going to use it. But it's a very complicated piece of
And
legislation.
this is
But
brought by the
yeah,
Biden administration, right?
yeah, no, it's
So
definitely
they're
not
yeah, so
Trump's doing.
they're like this. I did hear a little bit about it. I know that the Republicans are really trying to fight it, but there's supposed to be billions coming to the states in order to take care of some of those things. And we're hearing every day about 2024. The run that's coming up. I mean, there's another Republican guy
Hmm.
that's trying to tell Trump to sit down so he can stand up. But Trump has already raised
Hmm.
$5 million for his campaign. Just telling everybody that he thinks he's going to get arrested. He's already rallied his base, and they got plans to shut
Yeah.
all this stuff down, all this climate money down, and that's going to be on their first priority. So
Hmm.
can you tell right now if there's any ability to get that money out before anything changes by next year?
Hmm.
Wow. Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know honestly. I mean, uh, basically what's happening right now is that states have to apply to the federal
Mm,
government to get that. There's like a certain amount of money that the federal government like they're like tax credits and things like that that individuals can
mm.
just go after, and that's part of what we need to like
Oh wow.
educate people about is that there's lots of money for changing over your gas appliances
Hmm.
to electric. Like a big part of it is just about like having electric appliances.
Mm,
And so yeah, there's a lot of that, but then there's also what states need to apply for, and that's where like Nebraska, like a lot of like you know bluer, like more Democrat leaning states, like they've already been planning like here's what we're gonna do with it, blah 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 blah. And Nebraska apparently applied for it, but I don't know if yeah, I don't know. I just don't know the details of like their application, like how specific it was. But to your question, I don't know. I mean, who knows with like national politics? I mean, hopefully that Ron DeSantis or Trump or whomever, if they were to win, it wouldn't totally go away. But
That was a
I don't
great
know.
question, because that's kind of one of the main, messages that we hear from Republican candidates as far as stopping Democratic spending, and climate change is definitely one of the main things that a lot of Republican leaders were against. I believe didn't Trump pull out the Paris Agreement or something like that?
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Yeah.
So,
what's got me thinking too is Biden got this infrastructure bill passed,
yep,
which was pretty bipartisan. And most people were about infrastructure, and he knocked
Hmm.
that one out first. I think it was very strategic because he did absolutely want to get to the climate change one, but he wasn't going to try to push that one first. So he got a successful one through by teaming up with the Republicans on that and getting the infrastructure bill going because I think he probably knew that he was going to be in it by himself on this one coming up. So,
Yeah.
but the only problem I see is like getting closer to 2024. What is that actually going to mean for that one actually happening? You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I hope that it sticks around, and I don't know. I guess if not, I mean, it's just going to be more incumbent on cities and states to do something about it. Like, with everything going on with Omaha and them doing their climate action
yep.
plan. I don't know if you guys talk a whole lot about yeah, but like I mean, so actually with that, something that's a little bit more interesting we can get into. So in 2010, the city did this environmental element to its master plan, um, which was this huge undertaking of trying to say like essentially it was like how are we going to make our environment better in Omaha? How are we going to fight climate change? All these different things, and they set all these like goals of like, hey, here's where we want to be by 2020. Here's where we want to be by 2030, and yeah, basically we've either not met any of those goals or we've actually gotten worse with all of them, and so. Uh, I mean, like if they do when they do the climate action plan, I mean, it's like I don't think they're going to be the exact same goals that were set in 2010, but they're not going to. I mean, these are not very like revolutionary ideas. It's like reduce the amount of greenhouse gases, like make more homes energy efficient. So when they have this climate action plan, if it's like a lot of the same goals, then I don't know. It's
Hey,
just
Eh,
it's just
go ahead.
crazy.
no, I'm just gonna say we definitely love to have somebody watching and keeping an eye out on this climate action plan because that was actually something I was going to mention. Because Lincoln again, who seems to always be steps ahead of Omaha, they've been
Yeah.
they put out their action plan a while ago, I think a couple years ago, and have been doing a pretty good job at
Mhm.
that. Um,
I was just looking at an old Nebraska Examiner article that we spoke on a few weeks back. States to receive 2.5 billion from feds for electric vehicle charging infrastructure, and they talk about how they're
Mhm.
supposed to spend that kind of money over the next 5 years. So again, these are this is an example of that the thing that Biden's trying to push here, which is what can that mean? What would Omaha look like? What would Nebraska look like if we got 2.5 billion in for to bring in electric charging stations? How would the sale of electric cars go then? The push, will the money get stopped if it's supposed to be spread out over the next 5 years? Would it get stopped if there's a change in the leadership? So a lot of questions there, but we already kind of saw like they're on the move with this whole changing things in the country with the climate situation, especially like California, who's decided to go all electric by a certain time and so on. But there's already money coming in, and it's interesting that we keep on having to go back and say, brother Wayne and brother McKinney have been trying, even on stuff that we haven't been, they haven't been on the show talking about it all. They're trying to get funds in to do certain things because they're sitting there seeing all the money coming in. Here's another 2.5 billion that we're talking about that's supposed to come in for vehicle charging infrastructure for states. So
um,
yeah, go ahead.
It's funny how the conversation about that, and it kind of crosses a lot of things, not just climate change, but also just following the money as far as finances. Also talking about infrastructure. We talked about the power grid a lot on the show for some for some reason,
Mm.
but I caught wind that apparently there's actually not enough power for those power stations. Like, say if for everyone were to have an electric car, there's technically not enough power on the grid for everyone to charge their cars.
Well, first of all, that ain't never gonna happen in Nebraska. They
Right,
love
right.
they love their big old trucks too much.
Oh yeah, trucks and tractors
Be
and
so
trailers.
mad. I'd be so mad running around the city. I'm like, take them big farm trucks out of here. We don't even got parking space big enough for y'all. It's not city vehicles.
Yeah, someone's parked outside my house with they have the numbers for the different counties. It's like 59 dash, and it's like this giant ass truck, and I'm like,
He trying to catch the
I mean,
he
it's
trying to
cool,
catch
but
the
I'm like,
rooster out
just
there.
maybe I don't know. Yeah,
Cock-a-doodle-doo, fools, come on through. But look,
dude, one rooster, no chickens. Why would you just have one rooster? That's my
wake you up
only
in the morning,
question.
dude. No
Yeah,
problem.
yeah, yeah.
I want to. Kimmer said that she didn't know that we had a rooster in the neighborhood, though. So
Hey,
glad
cock a
you.
doodle doo fool.
I think it's out of earshot of her house, so she's lucky.
She doesn't get the wake up call. No wonder you're up so early with us. No
No,
wonder. No wonder. I did want to pivot. I don't know if you had something else, Paul,
No,
but
go ahead.
I did want to get into. I don't know where you are with the Disinvested project. We saw you kind of did a recap of that. Is that something that's still ongoing, or is that something that's done?
I mean, it's done. I guess in the sense we're not going to be doing something every issue on it, but like the we kind of said this in our kind of editorial
Mm-hmm.
about it wrapping up, but like the attitudes of it are like. I mean, it's what we're carrying kind of with every story we're doing. So, stories about inequity, stories about, people not getting their fair share. I mean, that's the thing that I'm naturally drawn towards. So it's a little harder to do with the climate change stories. I mean, just there's a lot of different kinds of
Mm-hmm.
stories to do, but I mean, environmental racism is huge. I mean, what we're just talking about with energy efficient homes is like huge with this because, I mean, once again, to go back to this goal the city set in 2010. Their goal was that they were going to upgrade, 5% of residential homes every year to become more energy
Mm.
efficient. And I mean, I asked the planning department, whether or not they've been doing that, I have not heard back from them about that. But I've not heard of anything. I don't know if anyone in
Mm.
you guys or anyone in the chat has heard of anything, but that's environmental racism, because it's like not only are people going to have to deal with having gas appliances and spending more on their energy bills and all this stuff, but you promised to help people and then you
Hmm.
didn't. So, yeah, anyway, to answer your question, disinvested, I mean, basically, yeah, we're done. We're saying we're done with it, but the attitudes of it
I
are
think you ought to, I have a
ongoing.
suggestion. I think you ought to. We should start working on an invested series after the decisions about the 1024 and 532 and all these bills and all this money is supposed to be coming to North and South Omaha, to start keeping track of where it's supposed to be invested in and who gets the money and
Yeah.
where it went and all that.
It's a great
Um,
idea.
so
Hmm.
anyway, but yeah, I always refer everybody over to the reader site so they can check out that disinvested series, and really gives a comprehensive a viewpoint of like what some of the issues are. And I was just kind of talking to the chat chimers earlier and just reminding them that some of the stuff that they chime in and tell, and some of the information that they give, some of the things they have to say, some of the things that we talk about on a regular basis are being covered. We're being listened to and being covered in that disinvested series. So definitely go check that out and go through it again. I kind of use it as a reference whenever I want to go back and talk about some of the inequities and things that's going on in the neighborhood. So in the
Man.
chat,
Thank you.
Amy H. Dot says, Chris, you should go to the Macy res and dig into the water that comes downstream. This affects the life expectancy there, radon, cancer rates, skin disease, etc. Wow.
Yeah, I should. I mean, I'm sure you guys have been talking about all
Yep.
Flatwater's
Yep.
water stories, but yeah, that would be an interesting one for them to look into
Yeah,
for
that's a
sure.
great idea, Amy. I believe, yeah, Flatwater is reported on the nitrate levels in water from some of the runoff from farming. Some of the fertilizer and things used in farming practices. But would definitely love to see how that affects the reservations. Big shout out to our native brothers and sisters out there. Um,
Well, they just did a story about
hmm,
uranium in
Hmm.
water
really,
now too.
Yeah.
man,
So yeah, and that one is weird because we don't exactly know how it gets
right,
there or how effect on our health is. But when you have 10 times the amount of uranium you're supposed to have in your water, that's definitely very troubling. So
yeah,
I bet they would be interested in looking into. I mean, I don't know what's going on the Macy Res, but I'm sure that there's lots of things they can get into there.
yeah, yeah.
Yep. I was
That,
just looking at an article the other day, March 31st. Omaha World Herald did a thing on that uranium creeping into Nebraska water supplies, worrying experts. Something that I kind of had in the back of my mind to talk about at some point, but we had we're constantly talking about what's going on with the water. We were talking about nitrates before, getting into the water and causing more instances of brain cancer in babies and all kinds of wild stuff. And now we're talking about uranium. So if we absolutely need, this is not a subject that's in a vacuum here. This is something that we absolutely need some eyes on, some investigative journalism on for sure. So anyway, yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on it. It's easy to call it climate stuff, and it's easy to say, hey, we got a grant, we're going to talk about some climate stuff, and you can talk
Mhm.
about that in an overall sense. But what interests me is what's going on with the coal plant, what's going on with our water right now.
right,
So
right.
so
Yeah.
yeah,
Uh,
so like you said, look, writing in the spirit of the disinvested series is very important for this.
also, speaking of money, I just remembered I have heard these conversations as far as lead removal, and just addressing the presence of lead not only in pipes of homes, but just present in the land, in the soil. There are, I believe, funds
Hmm.
for that removal as well through the state. So yeah, there's a lot of topics in environmental justice and racism and just environmental changes to look
Yeah.
through.
I can't remember what it's. I think the Midwest Newsroom. It was kind of the collection of different newsrooms around the Midwest, but they did a big series about lead last year. But yeah, lead is super interesting. I mean, maybe super interesting, not the right way to say it, but like I assume because we are in the largest residential Superfund site in the nation, which if people don't know what that means, it means that we're so contaminated with lead over such a large area. Like we're more than anywhere else in the country. Basically, all of East Omaha
Mm-hmm.
was contaminated with lead.
Yep.
Wow.
I assumed that because they did that, they cleaned up all the lead. But then I remember when the Knox Creek fire happened, they were trying to test all the chemicals, and they're like, "Well, good news is there's none of the chemicals that that we were worried about coming from the chemical plant. Bad news is that there's high levels of lead all over the place here." And it was just like, what? It's just so. Anyway, I mean, I can't remember who told me this, but I think the deal with that was it became too hard to try to get rid of lead like everywhere, so they just kind of got the lead paint off the homes and things like that. So after I heard that, I was like, okay, I think I'm gonna stop planting my tomato plants in the ground and start using like planter, because I'm just like, what
Yeah.
the hell is going on?
Yeah, no, definitely raised beds. Raised beds. If anyone is planning on doing some, backyard gardening and farming, raised beds are suggested to, because that is a big issue. And I don't really think it's considered enough the effects that it has when you talk about lead in the drinking water, lead in the soil, the effects it has on behavior. There has
Hmm.
been studies, and there are studies and articles, and there's a lot of information about how lead impacts behavioral development, mental development,
Hmm.
especially in youth, and the impacts that might have on things like problem solving, cognitive, abilities, and just overall brain function.
Yeah,
Um, so
Yeah.
and
yeah,
just
definitely
just
conversation.
and circling it all back around, in one of my disinvested stories, I was looking at a bunch of bad landlords, and one of them was a landlord who lived right next to West Side High School, but owned a bunch of properties exclusively in North Omaha, and he
Mm-hmm.
got like a bunch of properties, and he got hit with a fine from the federal government because he was renting out all of his properties, knowing that they had extensive lead contamination.
Yep.
So it all circles back. Like you just, I don't know. It's a big web.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Miss Erica Felt in the chat is cracking me up. She said, between those Flatwater articles and Miss Wanda Lewis, I now have a reverse osmosis water dispensary in my home. I
Hmm.
heard that. I'm looking at it myself.
There you
uh,
go.
Yeah.
There
ever
you
since we
go.
started reporting, I remember reporting one time that Nebraska had the worst, the worst. That was number three as far as worst water in the country was concerned.
Hmm.
And that's before we were talking about nitrates in the water and now uranium and everything else. So that's just interesting. Uh,
Yeah.
uh, so anyway, also jumping into the chat too. Mama God says, and have those who receive those monies join First Sky for update, so we can hear from the horse's mouth per se. Yeah, love to talk to those people who are going to receive those monies for sure. Brother Knight says, for those black people that don't understand what the term environmental racism means, it's yeah, we know these Negroes won't be able to afford new age energy, and that's their fault. I do hear a lot of that. That's their, have some money to fix up your own stuff. That's their
Mm-hmm.
fault. You're living in a situation where you're in one of the oldest parts of the city, and I always thought about this too, about like when we do trash pickups and cleanups and stuff like that around the city. I'm thinking to myself, what other parts of town have trash days? Why isn't the city pick? Why isn't the trash getting picked up regularly enough for it to not be overflowing here for us to have to go out as citizens and to have trash days? Like there's so much
Mm.
that goes on in our neighborhoods that I feel like are left up to, well, it's your guys' responsibility, but I don't really see that to be the case all the time.
Hmm.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. I think there's some conversation to be had about just the overall city's contract with the trash. Like I think there's some
Yeah.
some conversation to be had
I'm
there
not talking
too.
about the trash specifically, just this idea that it's on us. It's on us all the time. Why
Mm-hmm.
aren't we
Okay.
taking care of our own stuff and the stuff that other parts of the city gets taken care of in a bunch of different kinds of ways? So
Hmm.
it is what it is. It is 8:18 right now. If you're just joining us, if you believe in the concept of time, we're talking to Big Chris Baby Boy Bolin from the Reader. If you have any questions for him, he's going to be on for just a couple more minutes. So put your questions in the chat. We're definitely talking about what's coming on, what's happening with the Reader, what's going to be the topic of conversation here, and it's really good to hear that Disinvested series really kind of set the tone for a lot of the things that you guys are going to be looking at. Got a grant to cover some environmental issues, but you're not going to be doing a gloss over on that. You're going to talk about environmental racism and all the things that come with the environmental issues.
Hmm.
You guys have already proven that that's your style, and that's why we mess with you. So we appreciate you guys doing that. Can't wait to see what you guys come in on that.
And again, you said you got a grant for that. Like you have a full newsroom that's dedicated to that.
Well, I mean, yeah. So we got it's a $20,000 grant from the Solutions Journalism Network, which is like this national,
Man,
international organization. So that's the other thing is that these stories are really supposed to be solutions oriented. So like, hey,
love
what
it.
can we do about it?
Hmm.
And not in a really fluffy kind of way, which is like, oh, if you start recycling, like you're gonna save the world. Like it's nothing like that. Yeah, I mean, when you say like full newsroom, I think in my mind I imagine like a whole floor filled with like
Yeah,
reporters. I mean,
not
it's
quite.
it's literally it's like me, Bridget, and like all the people like our job, the people that you've had on before. So,
Okay,
but yeah, it's our main focus. I mean, I am trying to find a way to carve out some more time to focus on other things like stuff going on with the streetcar. I want to revisit TIFF because that's just insane. Um, everything that's going on with the legislature, while we're not really getting as involved with it, just because there's a lot of it. I mean, actually, I did a story for Flatwater about Senator McKinney's hair discrimination bill.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, there's just a lot of stuff going on. So trying to carve out the time and the space, and I mean, the really good thing with this actually is that they really encourage us to collaborate more, which we like to do, but I feel like sometimes collaborating for us is like working with you guys and working with Flatwater. So we're trying to expand our horizons. So we've got a couple stories getting published by UNL students.
nice,
One story that we're partnering with a student at South High. We've been working with some organizations that are um, like kind of international climate science and journalism groups or whatever. So it's been a very interesting thing to work with a bunch of different people. But at the end of the day, it's like it comes back to us, and we really have to decide what we want to do and how we want to do it. But being able
right.
to partner with other people and I mean, it's been really cool.
It's. I was gonna say it's funny you mentioned that. I was actually gonna ask, as far as like the legislative stuff and collaboration, because we've been like neck deep in the legislature
Mhm.
and what's going on
Not
the
just
legislative floor.
knee deep,
Yeah, yeah, neck deep. we've been
Yeah.
we've been deep in it. Actually, so
totally
deep, man, so deep to the point where I was kind of lost. Just didn't really know what to add to the last editorial meeting we had because all I had on the mind was the legislature and what's going on
Yeah.
with the bills. Didn't really have many other leads with many other stories. So that is possibly one area we could while you all are looking at the environmental justice things. Maybe we can continue to look at what's going on with the legislature. We've been having the senators on every Friday. Maybe there's some stories and some things that you all can pull from that.
Hmm.
Uh,
Well, also it feeds it feeds each other too because
right, right.
we when there's laws that are trying to be passed that the senators some of the senators that we have on the show are trying to pass that have to do with environment and stuff like that as well. Because it all affects us. Amy H. Dot says let's just say that any development that happens in North Omaha, they damn near have to remove and replace all soil as it's contaminated.
Man,
So we all kind of know that things are messed up there. How does that get taken care of? Well, first of all, we love the fact that you guys are taking a look at it, shining a light on it, talking to some people, and keeping an eye on it. But it feeds itself too because we can bring that to the senators and say, hey, check this out. This is what we're concerned with. What are you guys doing over there to pass some laws that might have some relief here for what's going on with our water situation, what's going on with our land situation.
right.
So yeah. Anyway, moving on real quick. Brother Knight says, yeah, they never know when the offender looks like them. Okay. Ariel's 402 says we use a Berkey tabletop water filter, $300. Everybody's talking about water filters right now too. Definitely need to get on that. I pretty much buy water from the store, but that's getting real old. Kind of need to
Yeah,
get down on that osmosis filter
yeah.
there. Brother Knight says, to be honest, more of us need to take the pride not to litter so much in our hoods. Yeah, it's true. But and then Amy Huff, who said somebody said something about other. Let me see if I can find it again. Um, somebody was talking about that they do these trash days in other areas. We can leave it off.
Well, that woman says
Oh,
spring
spring
cleaning
cleaning.
is yeah. She says spring cleaning is all across the city, but in neighborhoods without special dumpster days, we have to find someone with the truck and pay them to go to the dump. So
Yeah, yeah. Absolutely, for sure. Also, Von Chapman in the chat. Good morning over on Facebook says time is and has always been the enemy of progress in North Omaha. When will there ever be a political solution to neglect that appears to be a constant and traditional issue in North Omaha?
yeah,
Yeah, good questions, man. Good, very good questions indeed. But
again,
mhm.
just saying as far as his mention of time again, us being told to wait, and yeah, and as Senator McKinney laid on the floor last week, the words of Martin Luther King Jr.: "Justice delayed is usually justice denied." So,
Straight up,
man,
straight up. That would, if you haven't heard that one, man, we'll try
yeah,
to find that clip to post on Friends of First Sky Omaha because
powerful,
very powerful. Brother McKinney on the floor evoking Martin Luther King with a speech, and hey, he's like, I've been sitting around listening to this stuff. I listen to audiobooks. I've been thinking a lot about this situation. I
man,
feel like what you guys are asking us to do is wait again as Black folks, as if we don't have
man.
issues that need to be dealt with right now.
Right. So, Chris, as you see, we've definitely been deep
No, I
on what's
know.
going.
Yeah, it's so complicated, and it's been so interesting to see it blow up into like this national story. And yeah, I
Yep.
mean,
Yeah.
it's like it's kind of forgetting this whole other side of it, which is like we need to do something about these funds that are trying to get to North and South Omaha. I mean,
So
but
true.
Right.
yeah, I don't know. It's have not been involved enough in it to speak
So,
very intelligently. But yeah, it's all I can basically say is that it's insane.
and that's been my question now, and I kind of we have another guest waiting in the wings, so I don't want to hold on for too much longer. But I definitely wanted to ask this before you go, because again, we've been so heavy in the legislature that I have not been paying attention to other things that's going on. And again, you said you haven't been in the legislature, so
Mhm.
I want to ask before you get out of here. Aside from environmental justice, what are some other stories or some other things that are jumping out to you? Some other leads that are interesting you that we might not be aware of.
Um. Well, I mean, I talked a little bit about. I think the TIF stuff is super interesting. I mean, I think with all the development that they want to do downtown, like they haven't really said anything specific outside of the mutual skyscraper and the
Mm-hmm.
streetcar. But I mean, what are they planning on doing with that? How much is it going to cost us? I mean, there's a climate change element of that too, which is, do they have a plan on building these so that they're energy efficient buildings? You guys probably talked about that World Herald story about how Jean Stothard said she was going to make her committees more diverse and then she didn't. Did you guys talk about that?
Nah, we didn't really.
Nah,
We ain't talked about
Oh,
Mean
really?
Gene in a minute. Yeah,
no, yeah. We've been
Oh,
we've been really deep in the legislature this season. Like
Chris,
we've been really deep.
okay.
Chris, not just knee deep, but totally deep.
Yeah,
No, you guys like diving in like head first, like Scrooge McDuck and his
Well,
man, money, money,
freaking
money,
coin.
money.
well, we're just figuring out that everything is tied to this. Everything is the local politics are affecting our lives more than I ever knew. So we're understanding like what this means. What's going on here is tied to everything. It's tied to all monies coming in. If you
Mhm.
covering stuff that has to do with environmental justice, then it's passed through the legislature because this is the stuff that we're talking about. Where is the money that's coming into the state and the city coming from, going to? You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? What problems are some of the senators are raising? I haven't heard one senator raise any. Well, I haven't listened to all the sessions, but I haven't heard much about environmental anything in the session this time around. So
Yeah,
what does that mean for what monies are supposed to be coming in from the federal government for that purpose? You know what I'm saying? So who's
yeah.
keeping their eye on that? Because somebody on the west side, one of the senators on the west side will be like, we need this $600 million lake because so the water can get evaporated up so that we can somebody gonna come up with some craziness about why they need to use the environmental money for something like a lake if
Yeah.
nobody's keeping their eye on it.
Yeah, you guys, I mean, if you want to have Senator Blood on, she has a bill, and I don't know where it's at, but with everything going on, but it's to force Nebraska to apply for, I think, some EPA money. And I
Hmm.
can't remember exactly what that is for off the top of my head, but it's something environmental. But yeah, to your point, I mean, it's like, I mean, states where like they're like these things that we're battling aren't issues, like specifically like abortion and trans care. It's like they are just like moving forward and they're like
Mm,
doing things. I mean, it's like it's not like perfect. I mean, it's government as usual, so it's really confusing and all that sort of stuff. But the fact that we have to like have these discussions, and then we have to pull out the nuclear option, and that we're now
mhm.
throwing into jeopardy all these other things that are important. It's just kind of like, yeah, I don't know. I mean, Nebraska sometimes it's just kind of like, yeah,
It's
just I mean,
frustrating.
even I saw Kansas, like their governor was like Trans Day of Visibility was like, I want to say I see all of our Kansans and like blah blah blah, and it's just like Kansas is saying that. Kansas, guys, really? Kansas? We're behind Kansas? Like, I'm not trying to. There's probably some people in the chat who are from Kansas, but I'm just saying, like, it wasn't that long ago that they blew up their entire like public school system, and I'm just, it's we just need to like get with the memo. Like, stop doing all this like stupid fighting so you can like focus on real issues. But
Mm,
unfortunately, that's not where we're at right now. So
there it is. I'm gonna leave you right there
yeah,
with that. That's the last quote of the day. Stop all this stupid fighting. Mic drop.
I know, I
Ladies and
know.
gentlemen, Chris Baby Boy Bowling with the mic
Baby
drop.
boy.
Hey man,
Thanks for having me,
appreciate you
guys.
coming through, man. Get your
Yeah,
camera,
fun.
get your camera together for next time, though, man.
All right,
Everybody
will
want
do.
to everybody want to see the baby face. All right, man. You have a good one. We'll catch up with you soon. Thanks for joining us.
All right, later,
Peace,
guys.
peace.
Peace.
We're going to take a quick break. We'll come right back. We have Abbie Kretz from the Documenters waiting in the wings. So stay tuned. We'll be right back. You're listening to First Sky Omaha Radio. First Sky Omaha in the morning.
In the morning.
All be Buddi3 Da Gawd, Chad Chambers, Ghost
Hey.
listeners. It's going down. Stay tuned. Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. You're listening to First Sky
Hey.
Omaha Radio. First Sky Omaha in the morning.
In the morning.
All be Buddi3 Da Gawd, all of you chat chimers, ghost listeners, ladies and
Squad.
gentlemen from the Documenters program, Abbie Kretz in the house.
Hey.
Ooh.
Good morning. How she say cock-a-doodle-doo, fool?
I have been up early, so why not?
Hey.
Did you hear Chris's rooster? Did he wake you up?
No.
You didn't hear about that rooster. Okay. We'll come back.
There's some chickens and roosters in my neighborhood.
You got roosters too?
I think so. There's some.
Nah.
My neighbor got some behind me.
He said
I
somebody.
had roosters in my neighborhood last time I lived in Omaha.
What
They're
is
not
this?
supposed to
Hawaii?
be here, right? Though.
Man, they had a whole flock actually. It was like,
Is that right?
yeah.
In Hawaii, roosters run around the streets like stray dogs and cats. So just
In Omaha, it's turkey game. Turkey game.
turkey
Yeah,
game,
I was
turkey
just
game.
there in February. There was a sign that said, "Do
Yeah,
not
yeah. I don't want to hear it.
feral, feral chickens."
Feral chickens, huh?
They're beautiful, though. I will tell you that much.
Yeah, yeah. If you live there though, you're getting up at 4 a.m. every day. So it is
That
what
part.
it is. Thanks for joining us. For those of you guys who don't know who this is Abbie Kretz, from the Documenters program. This is a friend and a partner of First Sky Omaha, and we're happy to have her on, and we're going to start having her on more regularly because you guys need to know about what the Documenters do. For
Man.
real, for real. very important resource. And out in Omaha and Nebraska, I feel like Omaha is not getting it quite yet, and it's going to be part of my personal mission to make sure that they get it, because this is what we've been asking for. We've been asking for people to keep track of what's going on in our government. We've been trying to get reporters. She's been trained 43 people already, bro. Like she going for it. So I'm gonna let her tell the story. But thank you for joining us. Please let everybody know who you are and what's going on with your program.
Yeah, so Abbie Kretz, I guess you already know that, and it's in the little description. Yeah, I had the Omaha Documenters. So we train and pay people to cover public meetings, essentially filling in the gap that has been left since other local media has gotten gutted, I would say. And it's also kind of a way for others to be more engaged and involved in what's happening in local politics. And I mean politics, like not partisan, of course, but just local government. But just more, I would say, more or less just kind of tracking regularly what's happening. Yes, we're sending people to like city council and county commissioners, but also some of those less well-known meetings, like, I mean, the streetcar is known, but also like the Juvenile Justice Development Corps, the Public Arts Commission, Land Bank, OHA, all these other different commissions that are out there, either elected or appointed in local politics. We're also looking at covering like school boards across the area, so OPS, of course, but also like Westside and Millard, looking at Elkhorn as well. Just so we can like have a regular coverage of what's happening at all these meetings, and hopefully getting information out so people know what to do, how to act on things, and things like that.
That's what's up. So basically, the way I understand documenters is that it's a group of journalists, citizen journalists mostly, and they get assigned to go sit at some of these meetings and take notes and come back with a record of what happened at those meetings. Then, with that record, there's certain things that can be done. Like it's a resource for reporters. It's a resource for anybody that's doing any research on anything. Lawyers can look at this information in order to keep track of what's going on in these meetings. Normally, back in the day, like you were saying, a local newspaper got gutted. Back in the day, papers used to cover a lot of these things. And with the advent of the internet and everything that's gone on with papers, in the like you said, the gutting of the neighborhood paper, this tactic of us sitting in these meetings and keeping track of what's going on has gone by the wayside until a brother from Chicago came up with this system to attract citizen journalists, raise funds, pay them to go sit and take care of these and take a look at these things. So when we're in this show and we're sitting here talking about what we're talking about, we always come to this conclusion. Man, I sure wish that we had the time to go sit at these meetings and cover them completely. So here's the Documenters program now, in effect, with Abbie Kretz at the helm. This is something that Houston and the Reader and those guys have helped bring here as well, and so it's kind of all in the same gang. So we're all about it. I'm going to jump in the chat just real quick. Ariel's 402 is asking how did you get started in journalism? Maybe you can and where you from? Basically, let's start there.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm from Schuyler, Nebraska. I'm not a journalist by trade. I'm actually a community organizer. But in talking to John and looking at this, the program in and of itself, it definitely has an organizing component in terms of connecting different people, acting kind of as a mediating institution, I would say, between like local government and then community members. And so that's really where we are right now too. I would say, can I keep going a little bit?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Just because you and I had talked on Friday too, Paul, but like with all the work y'all are doing about explaining the legislature, as we continue to grow and we're sending documenters to all these all these meetings, we're learning that each entity has its own way of doing business, which is fine. But like, if we don't know how the rules are played, it's hard to understand the game and then be involved. And so one thing we're looking at doing is doing some like local government explainers. How do they put the agenda together? Are people appointed, or elected? Are they paid, not paid? How do they put together a consent agenda? What is a consent agenda? Just all these questions. Because there is, I would say, a lot more information in terms of state government. And maybe that's just my opinion because I was involved in that for 10 years. But I don't think that exists so much here. And then we have a lot of issues like, street schools, speeding, that's all related to local politics.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny, Paul. You kind of open my eyes to this. You're saying regardless of the nature of the industry or business that you're in, all businesses are effectively marketing companies
Media.
that do media companies that do something else. And I think that even rings true for government. When you really think about it, because again, we don't know what they're doing. There's no there's not a lot of media as far as they have press conferences, but we don't really know what's going on. There's no real outward communication to the level that is effective, and this is an entity that affects our everyday life. So why do we need the likes of First Sky Omaha to break down how the legislature works? Why do we need the likes of documenters to break down how all of these entities work? That's one question, but we do, and I definitely look at the documentaries as an extension of what it is that we're doing as far as breaking that down and being that media arm that the people need.
Yeah, well, we'd be in a totally different business if it was the 1970s and there were still newspapers and there was still school. So in school you would get what's going down in the legislature broken down. So we wouldn't have a job. Abbie wouldn't have a job because the newspapers would be covering it already. So the fact that these things aren't happening anymore is the reason why we even exist right now.
Right. And to the extent, I just wanted to show real quickly, just the work that I actually pulled up a report from, the documenters. I pulled up a documenters document, and I wanted to juxtapose that to how the city actually presents their information, their own information from their own city council meetings. And it's a very, very stark contrast. Again, this is why the documenters program is so important. So again, we'll start with the city's version. This is how the city presents what happens in their city council meetings. So again, the information is available. If any citizen wants, I was able to find this. All I did was Google City Council Omaha, went to their page, kind of clicked through a few menus, and I was able to find this document. But this is what it looks like. Very codified. Maybe if I'll zoom in, this might help.
Here's a question. I didn't know what a plat was before I took this job. And if you go to the development section, I'm pretty sure that's listed. Oh, and then did you all know that vacation is a term in development too?
Vacation?
Yeah, I was like, sweet. All these people just go on vacation.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Again, very, very codified, very dense. I'll be honest. After reading a couple of these paragraphs, I'll just be lost. You
scrolled all the way down to 23. I'm trying to read the first one, number one first.
Yeah, I can go back up. It's
nobody gonna read this.
No. It's very hard to understand.
So, yeah, and this is the agenda, and it's very much legalese, and so we try to take that. But I mean, if you go to the minutes, then it's just like, this is what it was. This was the vote. These were the people who said something for or against, and say anything about what they said. Mm-hmm. There's no discussion at all. It's just votes and names.
Yep, and this is. Yep, let's make sure I'm sharing the right one. But this is how the documenters break it down.
Don't lock your computer up now.
Yeah, right. This is how the documenters break it down, and again, very.
Attendance. Hold on, somebody makes.
Yeah.
Speed scroller over here.
Sorry.
The scene, I like that. There's a moderate attendance in the room. Talking about how many people in the room, so give you a sense of what's going on in the room. I love it.
Yeah.
Here's the summary. Oh, the luminary gonna have a liquor license? Are we gonna be drinking in the? That's what's up.
But see, just that in 5 seconds of looking at it, you were able to pull out. Oh, who was there? How was the vibe? Oh, this is happening again. You would not be able to find that or you have to really do some digging and focus to be able to pull out
Well,
that basic information
it's
from
reporter
what the
work.
city's right.
It's reporter work. It's journalism. It's people that are just sitting there documenting what happened there according to what they saw. And I remember when we had you on the first time, one of my big concerns was how do you get people? First of all, the people that are really interested in going are people that are already trying to sit there and chime up anyway, and you really got to tamp that down so that they're just there, just not
Yeah, I think
interject,
Brother Shamari wrote that report.
He did, yeah.
not inserting themselves into the situation there and making comments and then sitting down and writing. And I told them this, and then so like they they have to tamp all that down, all their activism down, so they can just sit there and document and really and that's how that works. So I think it's a seriously interesting thing. I'd like to hear some of the other places that you guys are going, because like Buddy was saying to Baby Boy just earlier, we've been totally deep into the legislature, but there's all kinds of other meetings, not just knee deep, excuse me, and all kinds of other meetings and stuff that's going on. And first of all, I just want to jump back into the chat real quick. First of all, Brianna Full is giving you a hi, Abby. Also, would love to cover OHA. Amy H. Dot is saying you might want to talk to her about some of that. Vaughn Chapman says, have you approached the Omaha Star in regard to them getting engaged in your program? Brother Chapman. Well, first of all, let me go ahead and answer that question, Abby, if you would, please.
Yeah, I need to call Terry. Hey, Terry, if you're watching, I'm going to call you today. But she's also, the Omaha Star is also on our advisory committee.
On the advisory committee, cool.
There you go.
Here's what and this is what I keep on saying about this in the spirit of Buddy, what you were talking about every business being a media company that happens to do another thing. What I feel like, what I see about the importance of this is that this what it is that they are doing is a resource. If you are a journalist, if you're working at the Omaha World Herald or Channel 7 or Channel 3 or Nebraska Examiner, anywhere, if you're not buying the data that's coming from the documenters program, then and using it as that kind of resource, as a resource of you're doing your due diligence, you're doing your research on a subject. If you're not understanding like what a resource this is, then you're missing something big.
Yeah.
So, and I'm actually grouping us in with that. I feel that way with us too. We're the only ones that are actually having conversations with people 2 hours a day, 3 days a week, round tabling with people about stories, about the issues, about what's going on. If you don't use us as a resource, if you don't say, well, the people that they're talking to, this is what their voices, this is, they chimed up and this is what they said. And now here's the actual documents from the documenters program that's proven what's going on in these meetings. If you're not using the resource like that, then you might be doing a little half journalism. I'm not going to call anybody out, but I would definitely like to see people like maybe over on Channel 7 and Omaha World Herald use these resources a little bit more so that they can really kind of understand what the people's talking about more. If I was them, that's what I'd be looking at.
I mean, I would liken it to a newswire, Associated Press newswire, just
Straight up.
Yeah, and I have spoken to some reporters at the World Herald, and they're really excited about this too, because I mean, they just got gutted again, and the ones that had assignments on City Hall are now covering other things, and so I think as long as we can build up those relationships and get stuff out, that'll be important. And then I'm going to plug something else.
Plug it up.
Go ahead.
We are also right now working to do our own newsletter to get information out to folks as well. So kind of a newswire, or we haven't decided what we'll call it yet, newswire or For the Record. So if anybody has votes, please go ahead and tell us what you like. But really trying to get that information out weekly, like what's happened, like this is what's happened, right, in the week, like at these different meetings, what's coming up next week, doing some local government explainers in this online newsletter as well. Just so people can learn more and see what's going on. And then we've also talked about doing some more briefs, I would say. So beginning to connect the dots to see how things are happening, how things are, progressing in different ways.
I like that connect the dots part. I like that a lot. I always like making those connections. We talked to you about coming onto the show. I took a little pulse on with some of the chat chimers last week. about what they've heard about documenters. Everybody's been introduced to documenters, but I kind of felt like, okay, when she comes on today, we're going to reintroduce documenters. We're going to tell people what's going on here with the documenters, why it's important, and so on. And as you know, as we spoke of, a lot of times we'll start having folks on the show for one reason, and it'll turn into some other reasons. So, even though we have the label politicking with P, Precious McKesson on Wednesdays, we don't do too much politicking. We don't, you know what I'm saying? Even though the legislative report was supposed to come from McKinney and Wayne, we talk about more about the game and how to play the game than we do about a legislative actual report. So when people start coming onto the show regularly, things morph into what it morphs into. What I would like to see documenters time on News Mondays morph into is talking about some of these reports, some of the things that stood out to whatever. We can even have different documenters on. This is what I'm thinking so far, and tell me if you guys are thinking the same thing. We can have different documenters on, and they can come on and talk about what stood out to them with their assignments, and maybe how that ties into like what legislative thing we were talking about this week or whatever. You know what I'm saying? What do you think, Abbie?
Yeah, I mean, and I think that'd be great. I think it's good to hear from people who are actually covering it, to get their perspective. And yeah. And I talked to them on Thursday, and people would be open to it too.
I'd like to put that out to the chat too. What do the chat chimers think? What do you guys think about how we can utilize, first of all, the resources of the documenters, and also what you guys would like to hear from the documenters? How would that? What would that? Yeah, we're gonna get to that. We're gonna get
For wings, but
She knows a thing or two about some tacos. I do know that. So anyway, yeah, let us know in the chat what you guys think of that. How having the documenters on to talk about some of the things that stood out with them as a part of our kind of news feed on Mondays. Let us know.
Yeah, we'd definitely love to. I think we had the Sean Cunningham on, not quite as a documenter, but I think we did get a little bit into some of the reports that he was doing. But yeah, I think that's definitely a good relationship that we would love to build. As far as getting just into, what are actually the stories that could be pulled out of some of these meetings that are being documented. I'm also curious because it's also not a small thing that the documenters is a part of. Paul kind of mentioned this, the brother from Chicago and the network that he has now built with City Bureau and again, the documenters program across the nation. Can you kind of speak to that, or has there been any conversation about, are there any benefits of documenters being a part of a larger network? Has there been any collaboration with other documenter programs across the nation? Where's that?
Yeah, like I would say it's great. One, it's for me personally, it helps me not just work in a bubble or in isolation, because there's this connection with others. We've been able to do some more collaborative trainings that can happen across the network. So those have happened. And then I would also just say in terms of tech wise, like, because we're part of the network, that's where we're able to scrape all these websites and put up information about the meetings, create the assignments, and then publish that. If we were just working on our own, that would be, tech is not my thing. So that's definitely a benefit, is being able to have that, that tech side. And then just being able to collaborate, because we all have different experiences. Here's my joke for y'all. In terms of talking, we have regular monthly meetings. And the funny thing is, we found out that in Philadelphia, the FBI had visited a city council person. Then we figured out in Detroit, they visited someone. And so, like Omaha too, the FBI is visiting their city council folks. So.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that. That is a joke. It is funny, but that was actually a thought that I had. Like because there's this network. And now we can go to documenters.org and really see what's going on in just about all of these cities, as far as the details about what's going on in their local governments. And sometimes there are, trends, and there are certain things that can jump out that might lead to bigger stories. Again, it's definitely a resource, and we just posted that link.
Proof of script is what I'm looking at. We always talk about this Republican script that they be reading from all the time, and now we can actually like look at different documenters programs around the state and get proof of that. We only got a few minutes left in the show. It looks like she said that woman who is Miss Erica Phelps says, Amy, I think you'd be great at covering OHA. They're talking about OHA. So a lot of people in the chat definitely sound like everybody wants OHA to be covered. The Omaha Housing Authority meetings. It looks like you have some help there too. Have you guys have done anything with Omaha Housing Authority quite yet?
We have covered some meetings.
Say again?
I'm sorry, we have covered some of the meetings.
Okay.
I'm trying to remember if we've done them regularly. I'm trying to remember like when they actually have them, but we have gone to some, also covering the land bank. But
I was just looking at that.
More people come on board, especially if you have an interest in that.
Yeah, totally. And as far as Omaha public schools as well, what work have you done with OPS there?
Yeah, we're regularly covering them. I have a few documenters who go regularly, and then we're also live tweeting those out as well.
Oh, live tweeting. Okay, so we can go to the Documenters Omaha Twitter page. And
yeah. OMA
yeah.
Documenters.
OMA
That is
Documenters. But we still messing with Twitter. I guess we're gonna have to get on back over there. So Omaha So here's the Twitter feed, OMA _ documenters, and they do Twitter feeds from Omaha Public School on a regular basis.
Yeah, and then also, I mean, on the website, when you go to news, you can also find the Twitter feeds there along with the notes. So the Twitter feeds also get uploaded.
Oh, got it. Okay, cool.
Yep. So that link that we posted in the chat, that omaha-nebraska.documenters.org/reporting, that'll take you directly to the Omaha page on the Documenters website. And to Abbie's point, as far as the tech, that website is again a resource. Like, it's a very user friendly. Just go to that website, kind of click through it. You'll find what you're looking for. There's tags for the different subjects. You can like as you're talking about it, Paul. I'm clicking through the website. You click on education, you'll see they're in the West Side meetings, learning community meetings. So they're everywhere. They're everywhere. Just go ahead and check it out.
Got it. Abbie, one last thing we got to ask you about. Where's the best tacos in town?
There you go.
Okay, I'm going to take two places. I have a new favorite place, which is the Corner Kitchen, located on 50th Street between F and L Streets.
Never heard of this.
Corner. Okay.
Yeah. I got brunch too.
What's the other one?
And then the other one is Tijuana. Taqueria Tijuana.
Oh yeah, come on, man.
The
spot. I was like, let me tell you something new. Like,
it's top three. It's top three right there. Sweet, appreciate it. Well, we'll have to go do lunch at your new spot. I definitely want to check. I gotta test every taco out in town. That's how I roll. Appreciate you coming in. Thank you very much. Sorry about the short period of time here, but we'll bring you on again another time and give you a little bit more time to talk about some things. And let's set up for to talk to one of your actual documenters that are that are doing the thing. Maybe we can bring them on with you next week and get the ball rolling.
Yeah, sounds good.
Good. Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Go.
All right, thanks. Good to see y'all.
All right. Peace.
Ladies
and gentlemen, time for the haps.
What's the haps? What's happening? What's going down?
It is 8:57 right now. If you believe in the concept of time, we do not believe in the concept of time, but we believe in the concept of agreements, and we've agreed that we're going to try to shut down around 9 o'clock. The only thing really I wanted to talk about right now that I think is pretty important is this event that's coming up here, this Street Scholars event.
Man.
And I think it's going to be very, very powerful. Backed by the BAA, as you can see, sponsored by the Simple Foundation. There's a lot going on here. And as a matter of fact, let me see if I can find this Brother Kasim from the Black Agenda Alliance. Yeah, this is what I'm looking at right here. I wonder if I got to put my readers on to read this. He says I'll allow the work to speak for itself at the moment. Here, I can just do this. Just move on up.
Yeah, go ahead, scooch on in.
Speak for itself at the moment. I'm ecstatic yet short on words, but I will say this myself. Leo Lewis II and Chrome Lewis have worked extremely hard, countless hours, countless days, plenty trial and error to get this point. It is extremely important that we get the youth out to something of this magnitude. The focus is transformation through understanding. Please understand that this is a solution-based intro to our mission to begin to reshape our community through producing both historical and current education surrounding our circumstances, while introducing platforms that we've already set in place to address the needs of our youth. I hope you all attend with an open mind and open heart. Thank you, and we will see you April 15th.
Man,
Mark your calendars, bro.
please.
Mark
Yeah, I
your
saw
calendars.
that. I saw that post, and yeah, it's huge, man. Those three brothers, I'm definitely glad they're teaming back up to do this. They've been doing a lot of work in the community, as far as connecting with the youth, trying to be leaders, trying to be true OGs in the community. Big shout out to Chrome Lewis, big shout out to Leo Lewis, the Lewis brothers, big shout out to Brother Kasim, the BAA, everybody that's a part of
Malcolm X
this.
Memorial Foundation.
Yep, Malcolm X Memorial Foundation, where this actually event will be held. Man, if any of you have young people at home, or just have a place in your heart for the young people in the community, definitely show up and show out for this one, man. Hopefully it had an impact that we both, Paul and I, think it would. Yeah.
We're gonna keep talking about this one. We would have Brother Kasim on to the show to talk about it,
Man,
and maybe even the Lewis brothers. So most definitely mark your calendar for that April 15th. It's going down. We will definitely come back and talk about this and talk about what the agenda is for it, and and start setting up. Man, we got to get the kids there to see what's happening. That's
Man.
really what's the deal. We got to like you said, we got to bring the kids out to see these transformations happen.
for sure.
Eight guest speakers. They're going to be talking about stories. This is talking about, there's going to be ex-gangbangers there, ex-victims there as well, like real gang education this time around. So most deaf from 2 to 4 at the Malcolm X Memorial Foundation, the Memorial Visitor Center they call it, April 15th, 2023. Mark your calendars, please. We'll come back to it. And as far as that's concerned, we'll give you more extensive haps on Wednesday. We're going to go ahead and get out of here today. But we really thank you for joining us. Buddy, you got some words for the people?
Yeah, man. We didn't really get into it. Definitely had some important conversations. It was good to catch back up with our partners over at the Reader and the Documenters program. So big shout out to Chris and Abbie for stopping through. But I do want to reiterate that this is big news, man. The Vatican has again denounced the Doctrine of Discovery. This is the document that basically created the global colonialism that we're still really suffering from today. This is really kind of the document that sparked the transatlantic slave trade. This is what caused a lot of European nations to go out into the world and embark on conquests and journeys. This was all, again, backed by the Doctrine of Discovery. So for the Vatican, who paid for a lot of those ships to even go on those voyages and conquests, again, to denounce the Doctrine of Discovery is a big thing, especially in history, especially as it is being a response to Native and Indigenous calls. So big shout out to all the Native brothers and sisters. Black, brown pride, man. We're definitely standing right there, and I'm sure we'll be talking about this more in the future.
There you go.
There you
Brianna
go.
Full, we got to. Oh, I'm sorry to cut you off there. I was just looking at her comments saying I will help answer questions about the superintendent search too. Brianna Full, we got to get you on the show.
Yeah.
Got a lot going on.
And to that point, also I did see that Sister Kimera Snipes had mentioned about that superintendent search. She said Brother Ricky Smith is kind of heading that up. So that is something, again, after Dr. Cheryl Logan stepped down, still looking for new superintendent. So again, OPS documenters maybe can give us some more information on that. But that is something that we're looking at.
Word up. Right on. We're gonna go ahead and let you go, buddy. I already asked you about last words for the people.
Yeah. Shout out to Chris. Shout out to Abbie. Shout out to all of you chat chimers. We appreciate you. We love you. We thank you. And without further ado, take it away.
Appreciate that. Leia Kisu says, great show as always. Thank you. Appreciate that. Pop says, again, another phenomenal show. Thank you, Paul B. and Buddi3 Da Gawd and all of the chat chimers and ghost listeners. Looking forward to seeing you all on Wednesday. Mad love from Las Vegas. Appreciate you, Pops.
Hey.
Really, Kimmer Snipes says, I still want to get Ricky on. We down for that. Let's make it happen. Make it happen.
Can you bring him on Wednesday?
Hey, that's a good idea. Yeah. Tell him to come on through. We'll work it out. Let me know. Also, Von Chapman says the Vatican has implemented its own anti-CRT program. Well, I just find it funny that the Vatican is now denouncing the doctrine when Aren't they the biggest landowners on earth? Aren't they?
All right. All right.
Except for McDonald's that surpassed them in 2016, but they've been
Man.
the biggest landowner on earth. So they use that doctrine to their advantage, and now they want to denounce it. Hey,
Yeah. I mean, how else do you become the owner if you don't discover it? You know what I mean? They discovered it all. That's how they ended up owning it. That's the doctrine. But real quick, speaking of McDonald's, did catch wind that McDonald's is reportedly closing down all of its American headquarters, and starting today will have a series of layoffs. So that's another thing, following the money.
This is corporate McDonald's. This is not. You can still go get your.
Yeah.
Ain't no store shutting down. Just corporate McDonald's. Bada shutting down. But you can still go get your egg McMuffin this morning.
Yeah.
We're gonna go ahead and get out of here. We did not get a chance to speak to the ladies last Wednesday because I was going through something. So I'm very much looking forward to Wednesday to talk to Kimmerer Snipes, seeing what's good in the hood, and Precious McKesson's in Politicking with P, and just catching back up with the ladies. Cannot wait. Please don't miss that show. We will see you Wednesday. You guys take care of each other and pay attention. We still not just knee deep, but we totally deep in legislature right now. And so there's a lot of questions still need to be answered. And a lot of things need to be talked about. Stay tuned for special guests that we're working on coming on. And then, of course, Friday, we'll be talking to the brothers, Senators Terrell McKinney and Justin Wayne, put some respect on their names. Until then, take care of yourselves. We're out of here.
Peace.
By the way, Vanglorious. This is protected by the Red